Hello and welcome to a special edition of the Bucs Banter podcast. As always, I'm your host, Collin Hallboom. I said on the last episode that this is the best time of the year, so I guess that makes today, draft day, the best day of the year. Then again, the Bucs won the Super Bowl on Super Bowl 55 on February 7th, so we'll make an exception for 2021. Anyway, we are live on YouTube right now, and of course, you'll be able to listen to this anytime that's convenient for you. Just search Bucs Banter Podcast on Spotify, or go to our website, bucsbanter.ca, and click the link at the top of the screen. It'll take you right to the podcast. You can also find our channel on YouTube. Just type in Bucs Banter. It's now time to introduce my two guests for this live broadcast. We've got Bohdan Yard back on the pod, who put the world on notice last episode that he is officially an O-line guy now. And my other guest, making his first appearance on the Bucs Banter podcast, another extremely intelligent and hilarious sports expert, Scott Capron. Welcome, Scott.
Hey, Collin. Thanks. First time, long time to be on the pod here like this. So huge honor. Looking forward to talking about the drafts and looking forward to ripping apart running backs being taken in the first round. So let's get after it. Let's go.
Love it. Bo, how you doing, man?
I'm great, man. Glad to be back. I like that we're on video this time, or that I'm aware that we're on video this time, not just the radio voice that you're looking forward to. So thanks for letting me come back 2 times in a row.
Right on. Well, we are already at the 30th pick. The Buffalo Bills are on the clock, and we are getting closer and closer to the Buccaneers' first-round selection coming off their Super Bowl victory. And I'm starting to feel pretty good, fellas. I'm not going to lie. I am the only Bucs fan here, but it's important to get unbiased perspective. So that's why I've so eagerly asked for your participation in this podcast. But anyway, I'm feeling real. Sorry,
Carl. Just gonna say with all the good vibes, the Bucs win the Super Bowl. They basically did everything in your offseason checklist. Do you think it would be a move to just send out drunk Brady again, and just kind of punt the pick, say we don't need it, and just go wait till the second round? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think that they're gonna do that, but I mean, just throwing it out there.
I think sending out drunk Brady to make the pick would be the biggest troll in the world to Belichick, and I would be all for it as a Bucs fan. I love that suggestion. That's why you're here.
It's late. It's almost midnight. It's possible.
Is there any scenario where drunk Brady isn't a good idea? I just, you know what I mean? Let's just get him going.
Great
it's point. True. I heard drunk Brady might even have a strawberry every now and again, but keep that on the hush hush. That's on Giselle's vlog. So
those are natural sugars. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So the most recent pick went at 29, and who was that there? 29 was the
Packers.
Sorry, Saint. Did I mess this up? Who did the Saints just take? Do you guys know?
Yeah, the Saints just took at 28. They took Peyton Turner from Houston.
Right, way off the board.
An edge, defensive end. Yeah, a guy that not a lot of people had in their first round. So maybe they know something we don't know. I know you're hoping that it's not that way, but I don't know. Yeah, I was not looking out for Peyton Turner in the first round or watching any YouTube highlights of him.
He spells Peyton the same way as Sean Payton, so I think they might have just found something that they like there. Easy. Yeah, all right. Peyton with an A, throw him on the team. Who gives a shit?
Followed by Eric Stokes, a cornerback out of Georgia at 29 of the Packers. That makes sense after what Scotty Miller did to Kevin King, the corner opposite Jair Alexander.
It isn't. I could be wrong. Didn't Kevin King go to Georgia? Isn't it? Did they replace him with another Georgia guy? Just a little bit of
I like this.
Bulldog synergy there. I might be.
I can't confirm, but I will in a moment, Scott.
Well, I probably should have looked it up before I just brought it up randomly.
He played at University of Washington. He was a Husky.
All right, so just cut that one out. Just easy. It's not like it's live or anything, right? Cool.
Yeah, it's not live. Yeah, we're good.
Awesome. 0 for 1.
it's not basketball, so it's not like I'm gonna bring this up in the future and rip on you for it.
Yeah, appreciate it.
That's your forte. So as the boys on the NFL Network are just waiting here for Roger Goodell to come out with the Buffalo Bills first round selection, and we'll update those as they come along. I do want to start talking about some guys who are going to be available for the Bucs here at 32. And I'm pretty encouraged. I'm actually very excited about the names I'm seeing on my best available board here. Guys I expected to be gone. Just hang tight here. We're gonna see who Goodell comes and announces for the Bills.
For quick guess on this pick, Call. Who do you think?
Ooh, great question.
I know who we
all right
would expect it to be.
Yeah.
If they're going defense. If they're going defense, for me, it's Azeez Ojulari.
The guy I'm wanting to drop to the Bucs.
Exactly.
Anything right now.
Oh,
yeah.
Please do not be Ojulari. Perfect. Gregory Rousseau out of Miami.
Fair enough.
Wow. Another Hurricane. There you go.
Gregory Rousseau. So yeah, the second defensive end out of Miami is off the board, which means we are down to one pick before the Bucs are on the clock, and there are a bunch of names that I've talked about on Bucs Banter and just guys in general as well that Bo and I have talked about on the podcast who I would be super excited about. I'm extremely surprised to see three names in particular still on the board. Defensive end Azeez Ojulari out of Georgia. He is hands down my number one wish right now for the Buccaneers, as Bo just alluded to. I know you're high on him too, Bo.
I think that's who I got screwed up with. Kevin King, Azeez Ojulari out of Georgia. Similar names. I think you throw them in a hat. Really, I a lot of people make the same mistake. So I you know what? I'm fine. I'm good.
Love it. Trevon Moehrig, the hard hitting beast of a safety out of TCU. I can't believe he's still out there. I had mocked him to the Jags at 25, and I thought there was a potential for him to even go sooner. So that's a player, although I feel very comfortable with the Buccaneers secondary, particularly at the back end with our safeties. We got Mike Edwards, Antoine Winfield Jr., and Jordan Whitehead back there. But a talent like Trevon Moehrig is something you still have to consider there.
But Carl, I was just going to ask you because, what your mindset was a year ago tonight. You know what I mean? Because now it's like seeing the forest through the trees. You have the Super Bowl champ. You've returned everyone on the roster. The desperation level is so much less. You know what I mean? Obviously, you need to improve in this league every single year, but I'm just speak to your mindset from last year as to what you're hoping for. And now it's like you're just adding to such a great team already, right? So
yeah, it's something I've never experienced as a Bucs fan, that's for sure. Honestly, I've never felt this way, this relaxed. And I think it's allowed me to really dive into just the prospects and not be just kind of freaking out about what we're going to do. I don't want them to fuck up the pick or whatever.
Dude, and I feel like we keep on bringing it up, but it's uncommon for the NFL. It's uncommon for literally any sport. If you go back to back in basketball, the second year you're pretty worried about it because you probably lost someone who's like, this guy has to get paid, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Even in baseball, you lose somebody in your lineup, right?
Yeah.
I don't watch hockey, but I'm assuming the same thing happens there, right? I can't imagine that. Yeah, I just can't imagine
it's
that.
Hard. It's super. It's just very difficult to repeat in anything, and then, that's why it's with the Bucs specifically bringing everyone back. Well, I don't know. Are we stagnant? How many improvements do we need to make? It's I don't know. I think continuity at some point trumps all of that, and if they feel good about what they're bringing back, then amazing, and they can add a couple extra, extra pieces in this draft, just some depth. And, obviously there's going to be injuries throughout a season, but I just think the mindset of a Bucs fan must be obviously just a complete 180 from even last year. Not that they were a disaster heading into last year's draft, but just after winning and seeing it happen is so much different.
For sure. And because we had signed Brady, it was definitely a different vibe, but no Bucs fans
Yeah.
knew what was coming. That's for sure.
Exactly. I don't think anyone did.
That's exactly what I was going to. And I think that's what going into this year too, when you feel like you might be a bit stagnant. Maybe you're stagnant if you're any other team, but you have Tom Brady on your team. Tom Brady is leading this continuity piece. So, and coming from the Patriots, there's even more stability than he had at the Patriots in this. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's unbelievable. Also, if I can just jump in super quickly here, I'm like scanning over my mock, the picks so far. And are we missing JOK still?
Yeah, which I was about to mention him.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I think he's going to go to Baltimore here. I think he's
I wonder if he fits there, right? Like, that's kind of a gadget, almost like a gadget defensive player.
Yeah,
like, and the more that I watch him.
Bohdan's referring to Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah out of Notre Dame, who's this hybrid safety. He's a linebacker, pardon me, but he's like a hybrid linebacker safety. He's just so much capability on the field.
All over the field.
Yeah, totally. So
great in coverage too. I was terrified of pronouncing his name, so thanks for doing that.
I like JOK. Did you just
JOK rolls off the tongue? That's so
good.
That's great,
I've heard other people that are similarly as scared as I am of his name to refer to him that way.
Just call him Kevin King. Honestly, I mean, if we're just gonna start throwing him out there, hey, I think it's right. So
we got Azeez Ojulari, Trevon Moehrig, JOK. I love that. Landon Dickerson still on the board. Asante Samuel Jr., Elijah Moore. The first round, maybe it's his size or just the way the draft's unfolded. The one thing I'm feeling pretty good about is I don't think one defensive tackle is gone. And Bo, remember our last podcast? I have 0 defensive tackles off the board, and you were kind of calling me out on it, understandably, because has that ever happened? I don't know.
Yeah,
but it's
not a great year for the defensive line. So especially to see like 2 guys off of that Miami defensive line, obviously they're on the edges, but they're still going in the first round together. Where I think going into this draft, I think a lot of people were like, this is, if you're looking, and I think we talked about it even on the last pod, it was just like, if you're looking for pressure, this is not exactly the draft you want to be drafting in, right? So I can't believe Christian Barmore's still out there. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the Bucs pick either.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't be. Sorry, Scott. Couldn't.
Go ahead.
I could not be upset if they drafted a whole bunch of guys. I mean, Joe Tryon out of Washington, an edge rusher, Jason Owe. These are guys who we've discussed at length at Bucs Banter. Levi Onwuzurike is another guy, and that's pretty much all the names that I have at the top of my list here. So they could go a whole bunch of different directions at a bunch of different positions. And I'm just going to sit back, Scott, to answer your earlier question and just put my feet up and try to not freak out, because there's a chance it's going to be a player I love. And if it's not, I'm just going to trust Jason Light, because the guy has done everything he could do and more since he traded up to draft a kicker, Roberto Aguayo, in the second round. Ever since then, I'm feeling a lot better.
Yeah, I would say that didn't work out. You know, a lot of times I think we're quick to grade the draft picks, and literally you get an immediate response. That one was pretty fair. I think when people didn't quite go for Aguayo. And the crazy part was he was really good.
Yeah, he was incredible. He's the most accurate.
Incredible.
He was the most accurate college kicker in the history of the sport.
Yeah, and money from deep, and just for whatever reason, who knows, didn't translate, obviously. But yeah, that was a strange one.
For sure. Wow, I can't believe the pick is in for the Baltimore Ravens. They're just on commercial here. I have them slated to. So I had them taking Bateman with the 27th overall pick, which they did, who's the receiver out of Minnesota. So here they are at 31, and I have them slated to take an edge rusher. I have them taking Jason Owe, but I've toyed around with Joe Tryon as well. So it kind of scares the shit out of me that they're going to take Azeez Ojulari right before we would have the chance to take him, because he's just been a dream scenario for me, him falling to the Bucs. And
is Michael Irvin on the stage right now?
Here it is. Picks coming in.
Michael Irvin.
He's just hanging out. He's just talking to someone.
He happens to be in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Yes. Jason away. They took Jason away.
Wow.
Shit.
There you go.
And this was like the dream destination for Jason Away that we were talking about last pod too.
And I had that in my mock as well.
Yeah.
So that's always a bonus.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like this way better at 31 than I do at 27.
Totally. Yeah.
Interesting.
Exactly.
Oh, that picks in quick from the Bucs.
Yeah.
They ran there.
It's the punt. They're not taking anyone. That's how they look at this.
You know, I would have been totally okay if they decided to trade back, but there's just too many good players on the board. Like right here, I got 3 guys. They're all on the defensive side of the ball. The aforementioned Azeez Ojulari, Trayvon Moehrig, and JOK. Though I think you got to take one of those talents there. We got the Notre Dame linebacker, the TCU safety, and the Georgia defensive end. This is an ideal scenario to add one of those players.
Yeah.
If it's me, it's Azeez all day.
And you mentioned wanting to add a running back, but if it wasn't going to be one of those 2 guys, either Etienne or Harris, you didn't want anyone in the first round, right?
Yeah, I mean, Javonte Williams, I'm glad you brought that up because Javonte Williams' name has been floated around.
People love him, hey?
They're calling him, a lot of people are really throwing around this Nick Chubb comparison a lot.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's definitely not bad. I love Nick Chubb,
Yeah.
but I just think the value, and as much as I've talked about how the Bucs don't have a true need, we are more than set at running back to be very effective this season in terms of 2 downhill runners in Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette. And now we have Giovanni Bernard as well to handle the third down duties and be a receiving back. So I'm feeling really good for this season. I think we need to add a defensive end who can come in as a situational pass rusher. Of course, if there's an injury to either Jason Pierre-Paul or Shaq Barrett, then that would be huge to have that guy. Because as it stands now, Anthony Nelson is our 3rd string edge rusher, and he is not good at rushing. So
what about last?
Hold on.
Oh,
here it is.
Here we go.
Okay.
He caught it. There you go.
Okay.
Joe Tryon.
One of your guys. That says something.
I mean,
that was the guy, right? That's in the latest mock?
Yeah, I have mocked him there, but I would have much preferred to have been wrong.
Azeez Ojulari,
and it being Ojulari.
Yeah, that's still crazy that you got it right. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, well, hey. So you like it? You're happy.
I'm really happy with the position, and I'm just going to trust our scouts and Jason Light that they've evaluated these players like to an extent that I couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
And as a result, came to the conclusion that he is the best pass rusher for them to bring. I'm really happy we just grabbed a pass rusher. Yeah, and I've after a really tough stretch in the middle of this draft, I at least have gone, in terms of my mock draft, I've gone 3 out of the last 6 correct. So that's funny. Beginning and end were nice.
Yeah, that's wild.
But anyway, in terms of this pick for the Bucs, yeah, I feel good. I'm trusting the guys whose job it is to evaluate these players all year round. Our scouting department's been really strong. We've done a great job in the draft recently, and obviously they feel good about this player.
And it's not like he's going to have to come in and save the defense right away or anything like that, right? Like, a pretty good spot for a good player to go. If you're going to fall, then, or not fall necessarily, but just like if that's where you're projected and you get picked at the end of the first round, it's not the worst fate for someone, that's for sure. So
absolutely. No.
And also a guy who opted out of 2020 who's just been literally thinking about the NFL draft for 12 months. So.
Right. Yeah.
He's pretty much played 2 years, right? So he's declaring as a junior, but he opted out his junior season, right?
His first 2, yeah.
And he had a really good sophomore year, and that's pretty much what they're going by. So he's got all the physical intangibles, that's for sure. He's a big boy. So Joe Tryon, he opted out. What were his numbers in his sophomore year? 8 sacks and 12.5 tackles for loss in 13 games. Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Yeah, that'll do.
Yeah.
As a sophomore.
One of the more productive lines that we have for defensive guys in this draft.
Yeah. Kind of the anti-Quiddy Pay.
Yeah. We need to tell everyone Scott is a diehard Michigan sports fan, basketball and football. So
yeah. But it's so true. And, it's kind of the eye test of what it's like. Yeah, Quiddy Pay, great motor. And then, Louis Riddick and I think Booger McFarland are talking on the broadcast. It's like, yeah, not enough production, and he doesn't have any moves. Other than that, I think we have something to work with. I know they want to take these kind of like balls of clay and mold these players, but yeah, I don't know. That's just so funny. Yeah, he's a defensive end. Didn't get many sacks though. Okay, great. But he's a good guy. Cool. Have fun. I don't know. It's just funny how that works. I know you can chip and you can send an extra guy and do all that to kind of negate a freakish lineman. And by all accounts, Pay is like freakish athletic and all that. It's just funny when it's like, oh yeah, I just didn't do much of that thing we really asked him to do. So yeah, but
it's all about weighing production versus potential, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And we ripped on, I don't want to say ripped on, but we were, Bo especially, and you really, Bo, helped mold my opinion a little bit, kind of opened my eyes. It's how we discussed Jason Owe. And Bo was kind of just like, you know what? Despite these obscene physical traits and all of that, if you can't put up a sack for me as an edge rusher, then there's something wrong there. And that's what I was like, even though I knew that already, I was kind of buying the hype of everyone magnifying those traits. And Bo, you're right. You were totally
dude.
right.
When I was thinking about it today, I was just like, you know what? Jason Owe might be like defensive rookie of the year next year, or he could be on like Dana White contender series trying to get into the UFC. Like either one of those two options could happen. He's not going to be an average defensive lineman or defensive edge guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's either that or he's John Bones Jones.
Straight up. Or he's like, it's like he looks like he ate John Bones Jones, but he would be a monster in the UFC, that's for sure.
Oh my God! I hope he beats the shit out of Jake Paul at some point.
yeah, seriously.
Totally.
You know what? Let's get him to stop playing football right now, if that's what it means.
So let me just summarize a little bit more about Joe Triana. Even though I've talked about this and written about this, he was one of the 2 players I profiled specifically at the edge rusher position on bucsbanter.ca. But in terms of his physical traits, he's 6'5", 260 pounds. He ran a 4.6 40 at that size, which is very nice. He jumped 35 inches in the vertical testing. Great at using his length and to generate leverage over offensive tackles. Impressive burst. He does need to continue to, and I'm reading my own words. I'm not just like copying this off someone else.
What's his 3-cone drill time?
Don't have that. I don't have that.
Well then this is unfinished.
He might not have ran.
If we don't have his shuttle runs, his 3-cone. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I think there's relevancy to a 40 time though and a vertical testing.
For sure. I'm just kidding.
Ultimately, he's a very versatile prospect with great agility for his size, and he could be. They could get real creative with how they use him, and Todd Bowles has proven to be one of the most creative defensive coordinators in football, and unpredictable and aggressive. And I could do an entire podcast just about Todd Bowles, and he belongs on my wall in my Bucs den, my Bucs basement here. But
I think Bohdan and I just figured you would have a Todd Bowles podcast at some point in the off season. Yeah, we still have a few months before games are played here, but
off season leading up to the draft is all draft, and then from here on out, that's a great idea, Scott. Maybe I'll do that.
Something to kick around. Just saying.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I'm happy. I can't believe Aziz Ojulari is there, and
Yeah.
as well as JOK and Trevon Moehrig. They all slipped out. Wow. But anyway, it is. Let's move on because we don't want to be here all night. I feel like we've addressed what the Buccaneers have done here to help their team, and I feel good about it. I did predict it in the mock draft, my mock draft 2.0. So it's always a nice little feather in the cap.
Yeah, well done.
Could I just pick your brain one last thing on the Bucs before we move on?
Oh, of course.
I figure this is a Bucs podcast, right?
I think he'll oblige you.
Yeah. Last pod we talked about Landon Dickerson, and I threw out a few other names on the offensive line. What made you switch and say, okay, we need the depth on the defensive side more?
Great question. It was not so much me switching Landon Dickerson. It was the picks before, right? That's the thing about being at 32. If I change one pick ahead of us, it's gonna create a trickle down effect. So what I did was I dug more into a number of picks early on. Okay, and the trickle down resulted in the Packers at 29. I initially had them taking Greg Newsome, cornerback I really like out of Northwestern. But upon further evaluation, as I really dug into their needs, I know that they just lost their all-pro center, Corey Linsley, in free agency to the Chargers. And I just thought the Packers at 29, it's been well documented how often and frequently they neglect skill position players, or I recognize Greg Newsome isn't that, but it just takes that off the board. And I just realized they have a huge need there at center, and there is one center in this draft, in my opinion, even though you're right that Creed Humphreys and a couple other guys are really good. But there's one center in this draft in Landon Dickerson, to me, who is like a surefire success in the NFL, assuming he can stay healthy. And I just thought it seemed like a Packers pick. So it was more about the Packers, I thought, after reevaluating their needs, that they might take him, than the fact that I thought the Bucs would all of a sudden change their mind.
Yeah, I'm with you. That makes sense to me.
Yeah. A little long-winded way to say it, but that's more or less how that went.
No, that's good. That's good.
So what I want to do is what we're going to do here for anyone listening on the pod or watching on YouTube. We are going to break down things we loved and things we hated about the draft. So it's a pretty straightforward process, and it's going to allow us to break down some of these picks and some of these players. So I will start us off. And one thing I love, we're going to start with the things we loved section, if that's good with you boys.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So the thing I loved more than anything else was the Chicago Bears moving up to take Justin Fields. It shocked me, but it made perfect sense. And I mean, so they moved up from, they were at
20 to 11, I think.
Thank you. 20 to 11.
Yeah.
Right. They swapped spots with the Giants, and they went and got Justin Fields to make him the fourth quarterback off the board. I have talked at length about how infatuated I am with Justin Fields' ability and his production at the collegiate level and high school, everywhere he's been. I love everything about Justin Fields, and
I can think of one thing I don't like so much about him.
Yeah, exactly. He was a Buckeye. I know.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you getting better at overlooking that, since he's no longer he's no longer there. He's no longer.
I'm really
there.
maturing, guys. I'm really
It's a new Scott.
Well, it's just a school that I didn't go to in a country that I'm not from, that I live and die with everything that they do. So it makes total sense to hate a 22-year-old for him picking a school and bettering his future. So it's all logical stuff, boys. Don't worry about it.
But I mean,
sorry, Colin, go ahead.
No, you're good. That was well worth it. The fact is, the Bears, who Bo and I, we owe an apology to, I think, collectively, because we were having a time making fun of the Bears in episode 2 of the Bucs Banter podcast, where we broke down my mock draft. Like, we probably took a good 2-3 minutes just to do that. Yeah. Mainly for the Andy Dalton QB1 tweet.
Oh God.
Yeah.
That sucked. Oh, that sucked. They suck, man. They fucking suck. The Bears suck.
Yeah,
They suck.
right. Well, regardless, though, when you suck, you got to improve at important positions, and I think that's what they've done by getting my favorite quarterback in the draft in Justin Fields, and getting them half or at that position outside of the top 10. I think it was an incredible move. I'm not gonna blab on about what Justin Fields brings to the table because I think it's been talked about enough here. But I that's something I absolutely loved about tonight.
It's so big time, and like I think the thing about it, like Justin Fields deserved that after all he's been through in this draft process. Have a team come up and mortgage out like considerable draft picks to go and get him was just nice to see, because that guy who we were talking about it last time was worst case scenario, he was going 2 in this draft when we looked at the start of the season. And even at the end of the season, I thought everybody was like, that's the second best quarterback out there easily. And I know the draft process can uncover some things, but he did not deserve to be in like number 28 in some of these different mock drafts that we were looking at. So I was super happy for him and his family, and just to see them just like when I think we were FaceTiming quickly before the Bears pick when we saw the trade, and just that they had that camera in their living room and it's just the whole living room's empty. And I'm like, oh, it's because Justin Fields is taking the call that he's being picked by the Bears right now. And they're all celebrating off camera.
Right.
Yeah. That was great.
Yeah.
Charlie Casserly had Justin Fields going at 24, which bothered me. But then to take things a step further, as only Phil Simms' son could. Whatever his name is. Yeah. whatever Phil Simms' son name is. Not like he was a Buccaneer, so I need to remember his name. For him to say so I don't know if you guys saw this. He actually mocked Justin Fields to the Bucs at 32.
Oh wow.
Like, come on, man. I get it. You have issues with his technique, his footwork, his throwing fundamentals, whatever it is. God. You're trying to break it down, sure, okay, I understand that, but come on, man, don't push it to the point where you're just being ridiculous. So
he had a few quarterbacks going in front of him too. I think didn't he have like Kellen Mond going in front of him as well too?
Oh man,
or he had a higher draft grade on Kellen Mond.
I don't remember.
A tough scene if he did.
Yeah,
I don't remember where the other quarterbacks were, because I always check the Bucs pick like pretty early, right?
Yeah.
So as soon as I saw that, I just X'd it off.
Don't need to read the rest of that. Yeah.
Hadn't thought about it since.
It bugs me whenever someone free falls in the mocks leading up to the drafts, because first of all, it doesn't matter. It's when you get picked, like when it actually happens on draft night, and then what you do on the field. Like what are we doing here? And it's not like he played at Northwest Ohio Central Tech University. Like, yeah, a few things get uncovered in the last few months during the draft process. You know what else? But things also get uncovered when they play, and he plays for the national championship, and he's the best player. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the vendetta was. It felt like there was something more going on with the whole Fields dropping. He's absolutely incredible, and not that it matters, because we all know how far Tom Brady dropped, and it's what you do versus when you were picked. But I'm glad that he's the 11th pick and not the 28th pick, and just as like a cherry on top, because like I said, it doesn't actually matter. But good for him. 11th was the floor. He's obviously a top 5 talent, and bothers me. Really, really bugs me. That
aren't you happy to see him go though? At least.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
Oh my God. Yes.
Oh, you mean from the conference?
Just to leave.
Yeah.
No kidding. Yeah. Well, yeah. Quick sidebar, but not that Ohio State has had a great track record of pro quarterbacks in the NFL recently, but they've had a ton of terrifying college ones that we've all wanted. Like Michigan fans have all wanted to just get the hell out of there and never see them again. I don't think Michigan's had one quarterback that Ohio State has been like, oh, yeah, we need him out of our division. We don't want to see him every year. It's like, no, give him an extra year of eligibility. He can come back.
The funniest thing about that is not even the greatest quarterback of all time did they care about that happening to him.
I know.
The greatest quarterback of all time was an afterthought.
I know. They're worried about
playing for your beloved Michigan.
I'm sorry. You guys have a nice sentiment about Justin Fields, and I end up bringing up the 98 Wolverines. Anyway, sorry, guys.
No, Scott, I do totally agree with what you're saying, though. Like, Fields took enough shit leading up to this, and that's why
come on.
It was bothering me. So I agree. To see him go at 11 as opposed to 21 or anything like that is a little bit gratifying, at least for him. It's like, okay, so this has gone on long enough.
And it's not like none of it was like he's just an out and out dickhead or anything like that, right? Like it wasn't
no
that.
Character issues.
No. So I couldn't get with anything that they were saying. Anyways, good for him. And good luck to the Bears, honestly. Like obviously Trubisky, disaster. And then 3 or 4 years later now they get someone new. I hope he does it for him.
All of a sudden I'm going to be interested in the Bears. I'm invested now. I'm invested. So, Bohdan, what jumps out at you, buddy? What did you love from the draft? We took a good amount of time talking about Justin Fields, but that's okay because I know we all had strong opinions on that.
Yeah, no, totally. Mine isn't even a pick. First thing up, like the first text that we talked about today on the NFL draft where Aaron Rodgers wants out of Green Bay. And it could not be happening at a more fun time than like literally hours before the NFL draft. Schefter tweets it out that he wants out, and I was literally wondering if we were going to get another tweet right after that where it says Aaron Rodgers is now represented by Clutch Sports because this was the most player empowerment move ever. Like the timing of it. And just the optics of it. If you're a Green Bay Packers fan, you're looking at Aaron Rodgers who's saying, I want out. And you're probably not mad at him. You're probably mad at the Packers because they have just shit on him for the last 2 years easily. Most recently with the field goal and LaFleur just like deciding, hey, doesn't really matter if we win this game or not, I guess.
What?
And
oh my God.
And then even just last year in the draft, it was almost like he was trying to hurt them before they could hurt him again. Like last year, obviously taking Jordan Love, they could have taken Patrick Queen there. Chase Claypool went in the second round as well too. They could have just gotten aggressive and say we need to find a toy for our quarterback here. I think we're one piece away.
Imagine Claypool on that team last year. Sorry, Bo. I hadn't thought about that. Oh my.
Exactly.
Goodness.
And to make things worse, they draft AJ Dillon in the second round. And there's no names that jump off the board in the second or third round in last year's draft just yet. But still, like you draft two backups, one backup for him, who is clearly the heir apparent in Green Bay, and then you draft AJ Dillon. Who do you want to play behind Aaron Jones? Like what? Yeah. It's like, what are you guys doing? And like I just love that. I love that Aaron Rodgers just said, you know what? I'm waiting until the last moment when you guys think that there's no way I'll do this, and putting you in a horrible position. When I was looking at the cap, and I'm not super familiar with the NFL cap at all, but they can't trade him until June 1st. Basically, with the hard cap and the trade rules, they basically would eat $50 million of dead money, which just means they're cutting like a third of their team, basically to accommodate that. So they can't actually trade him. I know we talked about it a little bit earlier. Maybe they could have gotten a trade done in the hours that Aaron Rodgers gave them before the draft to move up to 3 or move up to wherever to even like the Broncos at 8 and try to get at 9 and try to get their quarterback of the future if they don't believe in Jordan Love now a year later. But it just I couldn't find a precedent for that. But yeah, just the timing of it and just Aaron Rodgers just giving the biggest fuck you to the Green Bay Packers he could possibly give them. And this is going to follow them around until June 1st. So yeah, I thought it was great. It's just a hilarious move, hilarious way to start, and just throws the draft for us fans into full force.
Something you said early on there, sorry, Scott, before you go, that really I think is a phenomenal quote, Bohdan, is that you said, I think he was trying to hurt them before they could hurt him again.
Yeah.
And I think that literally sums up exactly how it feels for anyone who's followed what they've done over the past few years. You're bang on. That is like,
or for anyone that's been in a middle school relationship.
Yeah. I was just about to say, like, let me tell you from experience, as someone who's been on the receiving end of being hurt before being able to hurt the other person, it sucks.
Wait, Scott, did this happen during your first relationship or your last one at Northwest Ohio Central Tech?
No comment. I don't want to bring anything up, and the past is the past. I just wanted to, it was more of a hypothetical that I've heard people have said that is kind of what I was getting at. But yeah, no, Bo, that's a perfect point. I just wanted to add on to that. I thought we were going to get more talk about that on like during the coverage. I feel like they didn't mention it too much. I could have missed it. Our puppy was running around like a lunatic for most of it. But I mean, obviously they have to talk about the picks. There isn't much time to kind of pivot between other things. But I thought, given the status of Rodgers and the timing, that there would be more space allotted to kind of discuss any potential stuff. I didn't really hear anything, but
yeah, I would just say to that, like, I don't know if I think we're going to get to it a little bit later, but the 15-minute opening with Roger Goodell and the like weird vibe that gave the whole feeling. Yeah, that was all scripted.
We're going to get to it.
Yeah, I think everything that was up there was scripted. I don't think any of those were just like, I think they just had little boxes for, if this guy gets picked, this is what we're going to say, that type of thing. So
yeah,
I think they couldn't really work in that, hey, Aaron Rodgers is trying to set Green Bay on fire right now, and he's doing a great job.
They made a point
and to be fair, Mike Greenberg on the broadcast had to say that, who is the Kentucky linebacker that got picked? Sorry, I don't have it.
Jamin Davis.
Yeah. He wanted to mention that we also had the same backup plan of being a lawyer. I guess it worked out well for both of us. Nobody on the panel even responded, and then he just moved to commercial. The worst. What an asshole.
He made that kid's draft day about him, eh?
Yeah. Cool, Mike Greenberg.
Not about him, about his backup plan.
His backup plan.
We share a backup plan.
Congrats, man. I could have a backup plan. I don't, but I could have one if I wanted to. Anyway, are we doing my love now?
What did you love, Cap?
I have a football. I have a pick.
I know you hate
pick and a non-pick.
Okay, let's hear it.
All right. Well, I'm going to go with my non-pick first, and I'm going to say that I love that. Based on all the viewing parties and what's going on in Cleveland, that COVID is just gone in the States.
Yeah,
I thought that was super impressive. That nobody has to wear masks anymore. That obviously you can have 80 people at your house. Like, good for them for getting ahead of it and just being super proactive with the whole kind of eradication of this worldwide pandemic within their borders. And on such a national stage to show that it was done and just, we're through it. That was fantastic. So that was really good. I'm being sarcastic. Couldn't believe what I saw, but also could totally believe what I saw. Unbelievable. Ridiculous. Maybe it's because we've been in this for literally like a year now. Did that not stand out to you guys? Like, was it not blatantly obvious?
Yeah, it totally did. I think the situation we're in Canada is so much, specifically in Ontario, where you and I reside, Scott. I think it's that much worse. So it feels that much worse. They've been vaccinating at such a crazy rate. But regardless, not everyone there is vaccinated, and seems like no one's wearing masks. So I can respect that.
For sure. I'm saying it a little tongue in cheek, obviously, but like, it was just not being around crowds, not seeing anyone. And it's like, Roger Goodell is up there saying, we can't wait to have full stadiums this coming season. Like, that's in 4 months or something, right? Like, it's September. Yeah, 4 months. Oh yeah, no, 4 months we'll probably be all set. So we're good to go. It sounds like a good time to fill the stadiums. Anyway, sorry, I just had to get that in there.
Well, at the start of the broadcast, they were making a point of say like everybody here is vaccinated, everybody backstage has been tested and vaccinated. But yeah, they didn't really let you know if the people at home were tested or vaccinated.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at.
It's fast and loose if you stay home.
It's funny too because I don't know if there's a direct correlation, but there's like a lot of the good football players come from the South. And that means a lot of the viewing parties were in the South. So I don't know. People could just draw their own conclusions. You know what I mean? If you want to just cross that Venn diagram, let me know in the comments. But
thanks for killing my potential followership. By the way, I don't know if you realize Tampa Bay is actually in the South.
Yeah, it's like a city though. It's kind of okay. Yeah, you're right. My bad.
So wait, let me get this straight. Only Scott Capron can turn what I loved about the draft section into something he was being sarcastic.
Yeah. Well, I could have had it as
there is a hate section for this. Yeah.
It's in my hate as well.
All right, awesome, right on. So, do we want to go? Let's go now. Around the horn with something that we hated, and then we'll see if we have time to go back to our second thing that we loved if we have one. All right. Okay. So the thing that I hated was the Oakland Raiders, led by Mike Mayock, a guy I have idolized because he is really, despite Mel Kiper's longevity in his position with ESPN, Mike Mayock is the god of mock drafts. He's the god of player evaluation from any media member, and no one comes close. He was born to do that job. He was so good at it. In fact, he was hired to be the general manager of the Oakland Raiders, just to preface what I'm about to say. So I admire him personally. With that being said, Mayock taking Alex Leatherwood, the offensive guard out of Alabama, with the 17th pick was it was shocking even for Mayock. And in my mock draft, in my blurb, I said Mayock is incredibly unpredictable. I have no idea what he's going to do. But I feel like come on, man, at this point this is getting ridiculous. Like, the Raiders could have traded back to the end of the first round, at least probably the second round, and still got Alex Leatherwood or a player of equal value at the same position. Instead, they opted to use the 17th pick, which is a really solid pick considering some of the guys who were available at that point. And this is now 3 drafts in a row where in the first round, Mayock has drafted a player who was completely off everyone else's radar. For example, just to make that clear, so Daniel Jeremiah has overtaken Mayock's role since his departure to work in a front office. Daniel Jeremiah does a fantastic job. I love Daniel Jeremiah. He was ultimately Mayock's protege, a former scout himself in the league with Baltimore and a couple other teams. Alex Leatherwood was his 62nd overall rated player.
Wow.
And he was taken at 17, right? But it's kind of funny. Okay, so I hated the pick, but it was kind of funny because I was watching on the NFL Network. We intentionally split it up. So I know Scott was watching on ESPN. I was watching on the NFL Network. So I'm just analyzing this, right? Because the draft desk at NFL Network is all of Mike Mayock's former colleagues, all the guys he used to do it with, and they love Mayock. They're good friends, I imagine. It's like one of us gets hired, and then we're sitting there being like, "That was a horrible fucking thing." like we're live on national.
I'm gonna text Mayock right now.
Yeah. Let's say Bohdan is the GM, and me and Scott are doing a live broadcast, and we're like, Alex Leatherwood at 17, and we want to just rip into him royally, but we're trying to be diplomatic and trying to cover our boy's ass a little bit. Yeah. So they did a good job of not digging into him, but it was so obvious that they all thought it was an atrocious pick, as did anyone else who's been studying this draft.
Yeah.
Myself included. I thought it was a terrible pick, but kudos to those boys at the NFL Network for finding a way to not bury Mayock for doing it.
ESPN guys didn't like it either. I don't know. Two things that stood out to me with the Alex Leatherwood thing is, first of all, Alex Leatherwood sounds like he's the head of a group of 13-year-old spies. Like, that's what his name sounds like. And secondly, I think it was Louis Riddick who mentioned, like, he's got some good tape. Not many of the teams liked how he prepared for the Senior Bowl or liked his whole attitude that week. Seems like a bit of a problem. Like, kind of something you'd want to show up for. I don't know. I mean, hey, whatever works for him. Didn't hurt him. He went 17th in the draft, obviously, right? But that's the panelists are trying to be very careful with their wording. These are still 21-year-olds. They're trying not to kill them about their character or whatever, but not much of a sense of I don't know, super excitement from anyone about the pick there. So I think you would be joined by a lot of people in that was a bit of a head scratcher.
For sure.
Yeah. Like they've just had a weird off season in general, right? Like you draft Josh Jacobs and then the very next off season, or is it the next off season, they sign Kenyon Drake. Why are you putting so much money into your backfield and then you just get rid of your right side of your line? But then you add Alex Leatherwood, who is 62. Christian Darrisaw is just sitting right there too. Like it's weird. It's just a weird look, and like confusing for Mayock for sure. Almost makes you think that Al Davis is somehow just saying, yeah, I hired you not to think, just to do what I want you to do.
Yeah, it's just tough to get a handle. Like I have a lot of trouble understanding what their vision is as a franchise, and especially like for me, like I just mentioned how much I literally idolize Mike Mayock, and then who's his head coach? It's John Gruden. Like
exactly.
Clearly, I feel a certain amount of obligation to respect those guys, but what's going on there is really perplexing in a lot of ways and difficult to put my finger on. So. Anyway,
to be fair, people are wrong all the time, and it's usually the publicized ones are the guys who get way overdrafted, or you know what I mean. Like, so this could be a case where everyone else had it wrong and they have it right. I'm not saying it's like I can't say that I broke down a bunch of Leatherwood tape. Based on what I've read and what I saw in the reactions and everything, unlikely would be my guess, but. Like Carl, you said, you have so much respect for Mayock for a good reason. And who knows? We'll see what happens with this guy.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm glad you said that straight up, because I hope he hits. I hope he proves to be as good as Alovera Tucker, who was the interior offensive lineman drafted before him. All right, Bo, what'd you hate, buddy? I know you're a lover, not a hater, but you got something for
I
me?
am a lover, not a hater, man. Like, this is really tough for me. I feel like this was a pretty good draft, honestly. The only thing that I kind of like immediately hated was watching Mac Jones at the start, just like walking down that hallway. That was the weirdest thing I've seen. That was like a weird Vince McMahon energy from Mac Jones.
There's no swag, and then there's Mac Jones walking down the hallway.
Oh my God. Yeah. You could tell all the Alabama players that got picked before him. I think there was about 22 that somehow got picked in the 14 picks before him. You could tell that, like, if anybody else at the draft saw them like dapping him up, that they would have been like, yeah, man, like he's more of like a work friend. You know what I mean? Like trying to explain how much that, like, you know, the embrace with Mac Jones, like, yeah, like he's cool, but like within work hours kind of thing. It's like, okay, yeah. All right, Jalen Waddle's like, yeah, cool, Mackenzie. I'm gonna just go onto the stage now. Yeah, I got the same vibe, Bo.
Yeah, that's great. That Jalen Waddle embrace was a little weird, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Scott, what about you, man? What did you hate? Now it's your time to shine.
Yeah, I was clearing out for Scott here.
Oh God, I mean, I have some Mac Jones thoughts as well. To be fair, I'm sure he's a perfectly nice dude. I'm also sure that he was a little bit, I don't want to say entitled, but I would assume like had a nice upbringing, and that's nothing against him. Anyways, what I'm getting at is him going to the Patriots. It's just annoying, and I could just see it all being very annoying for years because he is good. You know what I mean? Like people were throwing out game manager at him leading into his senior year. It's like no, he's a really good quarterback, and there's a reason that there was talk of him in the top 3 or the top 5. You know what I mean? Like he's a good player, and once again, nothing against him actually, like personally. I just think that him with Belichick, the whole thing, I just don't see myself liking that at all. And we're talking and following on Twitter. It's like the Pats are going to get him. They're not even going to have to, they're not even going to have to trade. They're not going to have to do anything. And Mac Jones, a perfect Patriots quarterback, is just going to fall in their lap. And it's like, exactly. And I hate that.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
Yeah.
I feel like such a dummy. Like, not only did I project in both my first and my 2.0 mock draft that the Patriots would move up to 7 to trade with the Lions to take Justin Fields, but I failed to acknowledge. In fact, no, I did acknowledge that they have never done that for a quarterback during Bill Belichick's tenure there, which is like an extremely long amount of time.
I don't think they've done that for any position.
Yeah, it might not be for any position, but certainly for a quarterback. And I decided to project that because I love Justin Fields, and I just thought Bill Belichick was smart enough to know he had to go get him. But sure enough, he just sits right where he is at 15. And what Patriots fans are calling Tom Brady, the second coming of Tom Brady, just falls into his lap at 15. It's unreal.
And if I could jump
those
in,
are normal expectations. Just say the second coming of Tom Brady. That makes sense.
Yeah. Exactly. But well, you got to admit, like Belichick he knows exactly how to customize his offense around that player, that style of player.
I think the other part of this, we're just like hoping that the Patriots could just like move into like this cool era as well too. Like they have Cam Newton, and that they're gonna like build this playbook. So it sucks for Cam Newton because you think that they're moving their playbook to be more run oriented and play to his strengths. And if you drafted Justin Fields, you can like just evolve that playbook in that direction too. Mm-hmm. But it's just kind of going back in that direction of like, yeah, we're the Patriots. We're going to be easy to hate, and we're going to draft Mac Jones. So it sucks for sure. For like that could have been one that I hated for sure.
It's funny too because they have Newton and Stidham, the 2 Auburn guys, and then Alabama guy comes in. I mean, I don't think there's any real animosity when they actually get to the league. Like, I don't think there's people hating someone based on what school they went to. It's just a funny fact. Hey, can I just add on one thing that I hated?
Yeah,
of course.
Just quickly, I hated Harris and Etienne going in the first round. Hated it. Will always hate it. The Steelers can't block, so it doesn't matter if you have a combination of Usain Bolt, Najee Harris, and fucking Mother Teresa running, like carrying the ball for you. You're not going to do anything. I guess I get it. The Jags needed some sort of home run threat, maybe some excitement considering they went 1-15. I love the players. I love Harris and Etienne. Like, don't get me wrong, fantastic running backs. The value and what else you could have done there. Absolutely hated both picks.
All right, Scott, let me ask you this then. All right.
Yep.
Would you trade, if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, would you trade the 25th overall selection for Alvin Kamara? If you were them. But say all of a sudden when you do the deal, he's on a rookie deal. So he's making a few mil a year. Like, would that be worth it?
That's tough.
Yeah, but he's also
proven
and
he's also Alvin fucking Kamara. I get that.
Yeah. But the worst one of these.
My point is, if you think he is Alvin Kamara and you're going to have him locked up for as much as 5 years on a rookie deal, I think you have to have exceptions to your rule like I know you are the most anti running back in the first round type of guy that I know, and I can absolutely respect that perspective. But are there not exceptions? Because I believe Travis Etienne is special, like a special kind of special.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But like, fair. That's all fair, and I get it. And once again, it's not. I don't hate the running backs individual. Like I love these guys. You think I didn't love Saquon? Absolutely. Yeah. I like amazing. You think I thought that he should have gone? Did he go second?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So, but that's why that's so different.
It's different. It's different for sure. But
Saquon went second. Etienne was their second pick.
But Call. So here's the counterpoint to the trade that you just offered me. When was Kamara drafted?
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, that's a good.
You mean you can find this anywhere, and think about how many first round draft picks that have all this promise that just don't turn into it, and then you can find it later on. It's just there are too many examples of we can get productivity and maybe even a superstar later in the draft at that position. It's just too hard.
Okay, here's my rebuttal to your rebuttal. Okay, you can miss on any position. You can swing. And it's not a guarantee that if you draft another guy instead of a running back, he's gonna hit.
No,
there are so many. Over half these guys are. Well, I shouldn't say that. I like this draft, but I would say half these first rounders are going to be on a different team or not relevant players who your everyday fan would know,
or in the UFC.
They were first round picks.
Yeah,
and I think Travis Etienne will be one that people know. Personally.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But I think the actual production on the field that you can get for someone way later in the draft, maybe you can get 80% of the production from a 6th rounder versus a 1st rounder, and then you can use your resources elsewhere. It's once again, I love Saquon. I thought Zeke was an absolute freak. You know what I mean? Like like Leonard Fournette. I understand it. I just we're way past it. You know what I mean? We're way past it at this point.
Yeah. I don't know. I lean with Collin on. Yeah, sorry. I lean with Collin on this just because, like, at some point you got to look around the league and just be like, we have a chance to get a guy who's like this, who's like Alvin Kamara. The worst one I heard today was actually Keyshawn Johnson, who was talking about he's talking about Jalen Waddle, I think it was, and he said he wouldn't draft Jalen Waddle because he's Tyreek Hill. He wouldn't draft Jalen Waddle in the 1st round because he's Tyreek Hill. That you draft a guy like that in the 2nd or 3rd round. And I was like, you were a wide receiver and you don't realize the value of Tyreek Hill and what Jalen Waddle could be. And if you see a guy with that type of talent set, like, you go and get him. Like, if he's supposed to be the 10th guy in the draft, just pick him at 10. It's the same reason I love the Bears moving up for Justin Fields. They got to the point where they're just like, I can get him at 11. Like, let's go get him.
Yeah. Totally. But isn't it funny that Keyshawn, who is the complete antithesis of Waddle and Tyreek Hill as a wide receiver, is the one saying that?
Yeah.
That's what he said. I need a big wide receiver in the 1st round. And I'm just like, not anymore.
That's like Shaq saying the center isn't dead anymore in the NBA.
But that's Shaq saying so sorry to take the basketball, but
I did.
Shaq is on record. He says it all, just throw it into the big man. Like, that's what they think. Like, that's what these people, like, that's what these guys think. But because they are absolutely freakish, either size-wise or athletes, and then turning into basketball and football players, then we listen to their opinion. Well, maybe they were just better at the sport. Doesn't mean that they understand what should happen 20 years after they played. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like, that Keyshawn, I didn't hear that, Bo. That's absolutely nuts. I'd have to look at the draft the year that Tyreek Hill was drafted. I would bet you'd be hard pressed to find 5 guys that have produced more value in his draft years than him.
No, there isn't. I don't even want to look at it. Like, if you think a guy might be Tyreek Hill and that's why you think you should draft him in the 2nd or 3rd round, like that, like who would say that? It's crazy.
Exactly. Not to mention, everyone loved Tyreek Hill's talent, and he dropped a lot because of off-field stuff, but regardless, anyway.
So I think because it would be so easy for us to just keep doing this for hours, I think we should.
Yeah, sorry.
No, don't apologize. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna quickly breeze through any leftover love hates that I got. I'm gonna be the cleanup hitter for mine, and then we can all go around the horn and clean it up, and then we can just see if there's any loose ends we need to tie up after that. So you're cleaning up here, whatever you got left that you want to get off your chest that you either loved or you hated. So because we are on the hated section, yes, the hated section. Something I hated and I found ridiculous. Roger Goodell mispronouncing. He called Najee Harris Najee Harris, and it's like of all the players,
that's not even the tough one. That's only the one that's hard.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a super easy one. Like, have you watched college football? He's the Doak Walker Award winner. He's the best running back in the nation.
Yeah.
Like, national champion. Like, you can't say Najee. Like,
hey,
really?
To answer your question, does Roger Goodell watch college football? That's a hard no.
Yeah.
And I think he watches about one NFL game a week when he's at it.
Yeah.
If I had to guess,
and he's only there for the first half because the jet takes a while to warm up.
Exactly.
Great point. And then in terms of the things that I loved to see Kadarius Toney go in the first round. Like, for me personally, just in terms of how I evaluated the players without being influenced too much by anyone else's takes on guys, I was really high. I learned throughout this process I was like too high on Kadarius Toney, or so I thought, and I actually had him out of the first round in my mocks just because of all the other information I was out there, and he ends up going 20th to the Giants, and he was my, like, I wrote about it he was the first guy I profiled in my potential targets for the Bucs in round one. He's my favorite receiver outside of those top three studs. So to see him go at 20 was kind of cool. Even, like, I don't give a shit about my mock draft really, but in terms of how it goes in the end, it's more about the process. But I was happy to get that one wrong and see him go in the top 20. That was cool. And
another great family celebration too. I mean, there was a ton.
They were losing it,
but they were like, that's always great to see.
For sure. And then this caught a lot of people off guard, but in hindsight isn't all that out of the ordinary or unpredictable, is the Panthers and Broncos taking J.C. Horn and Patrick Surtain with the final two picks in the top 10, therefore cutting off the Cowboys from landing one of the top two corners in the draft, was hilarious to me. And I just found it amazing because there was all this talk about the Cowboys. Everyone knew they wanted Surtain or him or J.C. Horn, whichever. But then for the Panthers to go J.C. Horn, and I had J.C. Horn actually in my most recent mock as the first cornerback selected ahead of Patrick Surtain, which I felt good about. But anyway, to have those two guys off the board, thanks. That's how I'm feeling. To have those two guys gone right before Dallas, not even 2-3 picks before, but right before bang, was hilarious. Obviously, if you're a Cowboys fan, that sucks, and you whatever. But if you're a Cowboys fan, you're not listening to this. So,
but Dallas, but the Cowboys had the one. Well, they have a lot of holes to fill, but they had the one glaring need. They were gonna take a cornerback. The two surefire first rounders go boom, boom right ahead of them. That's good shit. That was funny.
Yeah, it was funny. It was it was like a sitcom episode. If each pick was a different episode, that was the sitcom for me.
Yeah,
those few picks. All right, Bo, you're on cleanup duty now. What do you got? What do you got left? You want to chat about that you either loved or you hated, my man?
Those are actually I actually want to touch on two of the ones that you already touched on, just from a different angle. And it was actually the fan celebration for Kadarius Toney. They were actually kind of being dicks. I got a ton of Kristaps Porzingis energy from those Giants fans, just literally just being like, "Who was that?" Or being that was a horrible. You guys obviously have not been looking at this. It's not like maybe they wanted Elijah Moore. Like, I don't know. But if you're looking for a wide receiver, Kadarius Toney is a great addition to that receiving core. And I think we touched on it last time. They've got a deep team now of pass catchers between Evan Ingram, Kenny Golladay. Who else do they have? Kadarius Toney now, obviously.
Now they have Kadarius Toney. The three of them is a great trio. And then you got Saquon in the backfield who can catch the ball.
And Saquon in the backfield. Yeah, they got a ton of weapons for Daniel Jones. So
did they keep Sterling Shepard?
I'm sure they still have Sterling Shepard. I feel like he's been there for 30 years.
Yeah, no kidding.
I think so too. And I think they picked up, they might have got Kyle Rudolph at tight end now as well too. So they've got a ton of weapons. So they're going to find out if Daniel Jones is worth anything or worth what they thought he's worth. So just weird. Did not like that at all. But I did like Gettleman. First time ever, he actually moves back and he picked up. And like, as much as I love Justin Fields, like this is not a Justin Fields bash at all, but the Giants are definitely making a bet that this is not going to work out the first year. They picked up the 20th pick from the Bears, and they picked up 164, which is a 5th round pick, but they picked up the 1st round pick from the Bears next year and the 4th round pick from the Bears next year. So they're getting quite a bit.
Is that a fact? I didn't realize that.
To move up, move back 9 spots and still get Kadarius Toney in a draft where they realize, the 3 wide receivers are all gone already earlier than we expected. And we're still getting the 4th best guy. So, and they're getting 3 more players out of that. So great move by Gettleman. And I guess this is the price for him to move back in a draft, right? So
2 quick things there, Bo. I think that is a great example of the power of social media, because that's been kind of highlighted on Twitter leading up to the draft about the Gettleman thing. And let's face it, they know, they notice this stuff. Who knows? I mean, I'm not just saying 100% that's what happened. He felt the pressure to trade back because of Warren Sharp tweeting it or something like that. But I do actually think that there is something to it, because it comes to light when you're the only person. And let's face it, any move that these GMs make, you either are praised or you get absolutely killed for it, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no middle ground. It's like there's only indie movies and box office like blockbusters, right? Like that's just the way it is. So that's interesting. And just with the 1st round pick for next year, I mean, hey, the Bears might not be terrible. Well, they go 6-10, and maybe that's like the 9th pick or something like that, right? Like that's not a bad little haul.
It's a great haul.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I loved Smart Gettleman. This is the first time we get to say that. So Smart Gettleman's out, and we'll see what he does with those other 3 picks. But yeah, that's great.
Not to mention, sorry, Bo, just to chime in, he was also willing to go offense, which I didn't expect. I mean, I thought if he did go offense, it'd be O-line or a defensive player. And he went with receiver after already having invested in an expensive but potentially worthwhile free agent in Kenny Golladay. So I think that's smart, because he needs to protect his investment, because his job is riding, in my opinion, with Daniel Jones's job.
Totally.
He needs to play better. He needs to be better this year.
So you got to put him in a position to be successful, Daniel Jones, because that's his job. So sorry,
he has all the weapons there now for sure. Staying in the NFC East, I hated, and this is what I actually wanted to lead off with. I just forgot about it. I hated that the Cowboys gave the Eagles Devonta Smith. Like as much as I guess they didn't have many other offers, but trading within the division, and not only are you not getting the corners that you wanted in this draft, you're giving your arch nemesis the best wide receiver available. So like, I know it's tough to figure out what you're going to do at that spot, and I don't know what else they got for that. I think I got it written down here. So they got a 2nd and a 3rd round pick to move back 2 spots. So maybe they get 2 other guys there. So it's not horrible, but I just hate that it's inside the division, because everybody's going to be looking at that. They're going to see each other twice a year forever. And the Cowboys have no one to cover Devonta Smith, so it's going to be rough. Yeah,
they really don't. That's a good
point. Tough. That was a tough 20 minutes between the wide receiver secondary exchange with Dallas and Philadelphia there, I guess. That's crazy.
Yeah, totally. And just missing out on the corners and then also handing the wide receiver to Philly. So yeah, not a great night for Jerry.
You got any more, Bo, or is that wrap it up for you?
I'm clearing out for Scott again.
Oh God! All right,
haters ball.
One quick love, one quick hate. I'll go with the one quick love. Jamar Chase to Cincy. To me, the Bengals are the biggest jerk off motion team in the entire league. Like, who gives a shit? So let's at least make them super fun, scoring 35 points a game. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, who cares? Do people in Cincinnati even care? I'm not sure. So we have the Burrow Chase combo again. You know, all the pundits are saying, think about how highly regarded this wide receiver class was last year with Ruggs and CeeDee Lamb and the whole crew. And not to mention the guys that went behind Chase this year with Waddle and Devontae Smith. And Chase was as good or better than that whole crop of the LSU shirt, exactly. That crop of about 6 to 7 potential absolute studs for the next 8 to 10 years outside of the NFL, right? So, it's kind of like, when someone gets drafted to their hometown team, a little overblown, like as if that automatically makes them 10% better. Just the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase thing. I just think they're both really good players. Also, it helps that they know each other. You know what I mean? So I'm excited to watch that. So thing that I loved, and
Can I have, because I'm like so high on Jamar Chase. I think I tweeted it out tonight. I think he has a really good chance of being the best receiver in the NFL within 5 years. I think if he hadn't opted out this past season, and of course he wouldn't have had Joe Burrow at quarterback, and LSU had a precipitous drop from their national title year.
Yeah.
But let's just take a quick glance. Let me just zing through the numbers he put up as a sophomore, okay, on that team. In 14 games, he had 84 receptions, just 1,800 yards, 21 yards per reception, 20 touchdowns, okay? So that is just stupid production. He's a sophomore. He was playing with Justin Jefferson, and he was by far the best receiver. And look,
look at how seamless Justin Jefferson fit into the NFL. Like just slid in there. Cousins' number one target. Like not even an issue. And Chase is better than him on the same team with that quarterback. Could be scary.
Jefferson can't be stopped, and I don't even want to imagine what Chase Young is going to be. So that's the reason I'm wearing this shirt. So I'm glad you brought him up, Scott. Sorry to interrupt, but I had to chime in.
No, that's great. And
the only person that could really stop Justin Jefferson was Jamar Chase, because Jamar Chase was getting the ball.
Getting the ball.
I mean? Like think about that. That's wild. Also, I just want to jump on that too. Like, it's kind of cool to see all these guys who played together. And like we're celebrating it in the NFL, whereas like if it was the NBA, we'd be like, oh, those guys all played AAU together. That's crazy. But like, even like, so what do we got? Tua with Jalen Waddle.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, obviously.
Yeah, man. It's pretty cool.
Did Jalen Hurts and Devonta Smith, did they cross paths at Alabama at all?
They must have.
Yeah.
At least 1 year, maybe overlap.
No, they played together.
Yeah, and then we got Travis Etienne and Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville.
Yeah, you're right.
Great.
Like to have 4 couples all together. I'm like a big relationship guy. This podcast, but
throw your keys in the bowl, boys.
Hey, we touched on it earlier, but my advice to all 4 relationships would just be hurt them before you get hurt. Just get out ahead of it. Get your keys out of the bowl. And then just a quick hate. I hated the whole opening 10 minutes. I hated Roger Goodell trying to be funny. I hated Joe Thomas's pre-game pep talk, or is how it was introduced. That was fucking brutal. Yeah, I think Kings of Leon was the band. Really? What? Like, are you kidding? There's no one else? No one else would play?
I like Kings of Leon, man.
I'm not even saying that they're that bad. But
literally everyone, like, it's not like anybody was on tour. They could have got anyone.
That's my point. Yeah. Yeah. And hey, Call, I know your sex is on fire, but that was in 2009 in more ways than one. So anyway, just had a couple of issues there. So obviously it's the NFL. It's Roger. It's going to be hokey as shit. You just have to get through it for the first 5 or 10 minutes to get to the good stuff. But they did not disappoint, or they did extremely disappoint, no matter however you want to look at it. So yeah.
Yeah, for me, I waited this long. I could handle another 10 minutes. It kind of just let me get my shit together and get organized. So I wasn't as perturbed as you were, Mr. Capron.
Sorry, but what about the 10 minutes that the Jags took to put the pick in?
That was ridiculous. I agree.
Come on.
The teams after them didn't seem to take the full 10 to me.
Like, the Jets did.
Did they take the full 10?
Yeah, the Jets did too, yeah.
They took it all.
Well, again, I was preoccupied, but I really noticed it with the Jags. Maybe it was because of your barrage of text messages, though. I don't know.
Sorry. Maybe the Jags and Jets just know this is the first time, or this is the only time they're going to be on national TV until they play the Thursday afternoon game in Week 16.
Yeah.
It's going to be played in Bangkok at 4 a.m. or something. Yeah. They suck. Yeah. Anyways, that's it. That's all I got.
Right on. Well, I mean, I think that's great. I think it was a fun draft, man. Things really
I'm pumped for the next couple rounds, man.
I can't wait. This is gonna be the best.
There's a ton of good guys out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Who are the teams who didn't pick tonight? We got
Chiefs didn't.
Houston for sure. Los Angeles Rams, the Chiefs. If you guys have second round picks, there's a ton of good guys out there.
And I expect some movement. So there's gonna be some teams trying to push hard to move up into the top of that second round, or front of that second round. I think I want to highlight a couple picks that stand out to me as potentially phenomenal value. And I'll start as early. I just have them highlighted here, so I might as well say them. I think that the Lions, who I expected to move back, and I think that was a potential something they were considering. They stayed pat at 7, and they managed to get Penei Sewell as a 7th overall pick. I mean, he's
worth a mention for sure.
He's not just some left tackle. He's not Andrew Thomas last year, who went 4th overall in a great tackle class. I saw tweets tonight of evaluators I respect saying I saw one guy. I wish I could credit who it was, but he said Penei Sewell is the best tackle prospect I've ever evaluated. And you know what? It must have been hard for them to not go with Devontae Smith, because I thought it was between those two guys for them, because they're desperate for a receiver. They lost Galladay. But anyway, Penei Sewell at 7. I know it's early, but I still think that's phenomenal value. I think the Chicago moving up to get Justin Fields, unreal value there. Obviously, that's been talked about enough by us. And then I think at 22, what the Tennessee Titans did, I had them taking Elijah Moore. It was funny. I have a good friend who's a Titans guy, and he knows his shit. And I had initially had them taking a corner, and he talked me into he had mentioned Caleb Farley. He's like, I want Farley. And this was a week or so ago, and I said, there's no chance Farley's going to be there. And he said, well, in that case, I want Elijah Moore. And I was like, you know what? That is a perfect fit, reuniting. That would have been another combo, Elijah Moore and A.J. Brown reuniting the Ole Miss teammates. But anyway, his dream happened. Farley dropped, and they got him because he's had 2 back surgeries, some weird injury history. But talent-wise, I mean, Daniel Jeremiah said he's a top 7 talent in the entire draft. David Shaw, the head coach at Stanford, who does a tremendous job when he's covering the draft with those guys, he echoed those same sentiments. Yeah. So it's clear that these talent evaluators are unanimous that this guy, Caleb Farley's talent is incredible. He opted out this past year, so that has the potential to be an absolute steal at 22 for the Titans. Their general manager, John Robinson, Buccaneers fans know well. He was the assistant GM under Jason Light in Tampa Bay, and got himself his own gig where he's the boss man, and I hope Caleb Farley works out for them, if not just for himself to redeem himself after those injuries, but for a former Buccaneer executive. And lastly,
could I jump in on that too? Yeah, Caleb Farley. It's wild. Like the one thing I will say, I didn't realize his back surgery was March 23rd, which is very recent.
Yeah.
Other than that, like I got, and not to go back to the NBA, but
Michael Porter
Jr. energy from that guy a ton. And I love that he was one of the only guys that was abiding by the quarantine rules, because there was nobody in the shot with him. He was just sitting there. It looked like he was just, go ahead.
Do you want to know why no one was? Why he was the only one abiding by the rules?
Why?
Because he has COVID.
Oh, no way.
Oh, no way.
Sorry, not to laugh. He's a healthy guy. I'm sure
he didn't look like he had COVID, but he looked like he was
alone though.
He looked very alone. He looked like he was about to like his webcam was worse than ours. Like he was literally like about to do like a TikTok video or like some sort of like Snapchat thing.
I want to be clear. I was not laughing at him for having COVID. I was just laughing at the fact that you were complimenting him for his COVID protocols, whereas in fact he was practicing those protocols because he has COVID.
Yeah,
there's some irony there.
There is a ton of irony there, and it's good for him. We don't know who has COVID in all the shots that we saw today. So it's good to know that he was quarantining on purpose, and it wasn't because he doesn't have any friends.
Yeah, well, Goodell has COVID now, I'll tell you that much. That chair has COVID.
Yeah, that was a rough idea.
Weird as hell. Like, okay, it's like this unveiling of his leather chair that he sat in, that they have. So for anyone who is listening to this, maybe who didn't see the draft, they have Roger Goodell's leather chair. I want to call it a Chesterfield because it just gives me that feeling, but I know that's more of a couch term, that he sat on during the virtual draft last year. So they brought it to Cleveland for some like nostalgic, sentimental reason. But I'm just still grasping for the nostalgia and the sentimentality, because I do not understand why the fuck anyone would care about that goddamn chair. Pardon my language.
So someone was like, all right.
You need a gimmick?
Yeah. I'm just throwing this out there. We bring his chair from last year. Yeah. Okay. Can we get this okayed? Yeah. Everyone's all in on the chair thing. Put it on the next flight. Like, who gives a shit? It's so ridiculous.
Must have been an intern from Northeast South Dakota State Tech where you went.
Well, yeah, they provide a lot. They have a.
What do they do with that chair after? Does it go back? Does it just get on the jet with Goodell and goes back to his million mansion or whatever? Like,
it flies first class in a seat. Actually, it gets buckled in, which is kind of ironic.
I wouldn't be surprised if I saw it in flames at a bush party behind our old high school, Bohdan. Like, that thing could be
true.
All right, boys. Well, this has been awesome. The last thing I just want to quickly, before we close out, just revisit Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming away with Joe Tryon, the edge rusher out of Washington. He's an elite physical specimen with plenty of production for a sophomore, which is the last season we have on record for him from a statistical or video footage perspective. That's the last time he played.
Sounds like Bigfoot.
Yeah.
His last sighting.
I just hope his foot size is in proportion with his body. Otherwise, he'd be a little slow-footed.
No kidding.
But I'm really excited to dig into him, and I'll certainly be putting out some content on him as well as the other Buccaneers picks that are yet to come. I'm really pumped for tomorrow. And I just want to give a shout out to you two. You guys stuck with it. We're at an hour and a half. We're going to wrap it up right now. But thank you guys for coming through. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me. And I hope I didn't wear out my welcome. I bought a microphone today, so if not, I'll be dropping a mixtape anytime now. So shout out to Dan Lewis.
Worth it.
St. Louis.
St. Louis, let's do it.
You're both welcome back anytime, and I'm sure it'll be sooner. I'm sure it'll be sooner than later. All right, boys?
All right,
Yes,
bud.
sir.
Thanks a lot.
All right, keep it real, everyone.
Peace.
All right, later, guys.
Till next time.